After all the build-up, it's finally time to start building our new Charlotte Bobcats expansion team. Welcome to Episode 2 of the Bobcats franchise. And in Episode 1, we didn't do much in terms of actual Bobcats-related stuff, but we did get through an entire NBA season, and we hired the first of our staff. Liz McDonald is our general manager, the first female GM in NBA history. And she immediately hired the first head coach in Bobcats history, Isaiah Thomas, who looks to bring the bad boys mentality down to Charlotte. And it's those two basketball minds that will be the leaders in the war room for the upcoming expansion draft. And prior to the draft, I did go full 30-team control and make sure all the protections were realistic. The rules for an NBA expansion draft are pretty simple. Each of the already existing teams in the league can protect 8 players on their roster who are at least under contract for next season. But every team must leave at least one player unprotected. So if a team has less than 8 players total on the books, they still have to expose one. However, the other major rule is that each team can only lose one player in the expansion draft. So if a team has multiple players unprotected and one of them gets picked, that means the rest of the unprotected players are now safe. So that's about all it comes down to here in 2K. There will be 14 selections made, each from a different existing NBA team. And in real life, it does get a tad bit more complicated because expansion teams are actually permitted to make trades with existing teams where the existing team gives the expansion team a draft pick or a player or cash or whatever, and in return, they get to force the expansion team to select a certain player off of their roster. But 2K doesn't let you do that, understandably so, because that gets a little messy. So yeah, that's about it. Anyway, I've talked long enough. Let's get to the draft.
All right, everybody, the wait is finally over. After a year of simulating, it's finally time to build the Charlotte Bobcats in the 2004 NBA expansion draft. It's just one team drafting this time, so no team to compete with for the best players. 14 picks to build our team. And here we go. So the best player available is Penny Hardaway. That would certainly be an interesting player to draft. He's one of my favorites. He is also the highest paid, though, at $14.62 million per year over the next 2 years. I mean, I'd be more inclined to pick him just for the vibes if it was a 1-year deal, but with it being a 2-year deal, we're going to be stuck on his contract for a while. He could be a trade piece, as he did just win a championship with the Suns, but what I wanted to do was pick the best young player with our number 1 pick, and that appears to be Willie Green. He is the highest rated young-ish player at 22 years old. Very balanced ratings and a C+ potential, but he is very athletic. Maybe not the most eye-popping stats during his rookie year, but he was on a playoff team, maybe not getting the most minutes. Per 36, he scored 13.2 per game for the Sixers. And he is going to be our first pick of the Bobcats franchise. Welcome to the team, Willie Green. Another good young player is Quintel Woods from the Portland Trail Blazers, a small forward, power forward hybrid. He can defend on the perimeter. He looks to be a somewhat switchable player. He's pretty athletic, C potential, and he was drafted the year before Willie Green. Didn't really get on the court much rookie year, but he did get into a couple games off the bench his sophomore year, 54 games to be exact, and he was fairly efficient in those games. I think I'm taking you. The next player I want to take was right below Quintel Woods, and that is Steve Blake. The Washington Wizards had a lot of young players they needed to protect, and Steve Blake just happened to be the odd one out. 24 years old, he was a 4-year college player, so pretty old for a sophomore, but He was very productive off the bench as the backup point guard to Gilbert Arenas. 5 points per game, and when you stretch that out to 36 minutes, he was very productive, nearly 15 points per game, shooting 40% from deep. Steve Blake, Blazer legend, one of the players I remember from those old Laker teams and the old Blazer teams, backed up Damian Lillard for a little bit. Welcome to the squad. So we have 2 guards and a wing so far in Willie Green, Steve Blake, and Quintel Woods. I think it's time to look for a big man. Jerome Williams is the best power forward available, coming from the Chicago Bulls. An interior scorer, can shoot from the mid-range. Not a very impressive defender. I feel like I want to take someone who can play center here. Looking at the centers, Lorenzen Wright is the highest rated player available at 28 years old. He is the highest paid center in this pool, signed for 2 years. And he is an inside the arc scoring threat from the Memphis Grizzlies. Wright has been the starting center for the Grizzlies the past couple of years. His real career stats aren't fully entered in since he was a creative player. But his production saw a bit of a drop-off last season. Not sure if he's my first pick here, but then again, 2K does hate big men. They always shoot like under 50%. If we want to go really veteran, Irvin Johnson has A interior scoring, which entices me. He is on a 1-year deal, so he would either retire or we would just let him go. But again, his field goal percentage, not very good. The center market is honestly kind of thin. I don't love any of these players. If you want to go for a young option, Curtis Borkart comes from the Utah Jazz, and he has a 2-year team option. He didn't really play much for the Jazz off the bench, but he was efficient at 55.6% from the field and averaged a double-double per 36 minutes. His attributes don't really jump off the page to me. Not really elite at any one thing. His only A grade is rebounding. He is 23 years old though, and maybe there's something there with him with 2 years on a rookie deal. I am taking Curtis Borkart. Pick number 5. We have 4 starters. Let's see if we can get a 5th. It could be a wing, it could be a big man. It could be another guard, depending on how we want to run our lineup out there. I would like to get another shooter, and Jason Capono was drafted to the Bobcats in the expansion draft in real life. I like him. He went to UCLA. A- 3-point shot. Did he play much for the Cavs? No, he did not. He did not score a single point last year. Let's just sort everyone by 3-point rating. Pat Garrity. That's someone I might be interested in. 27 years old. 2 years on a $3 million per year contract. And he can score from the mid-range and from 3. A skilled stretch big. And he has shot 40% plus from 3-point land in all but one of his seasons. I think I like Garrity here, but I want to look at the other options. Jermaine Jones from the Celtics. 25 years old, so he's a little younger. Didn't shoot very well from deep last year. One of the better players available right now is Shandon Anderson from the Knicks. 30 years old, and last season's stats were pretty solid. Darvin Ham might not be a bad pick. He is 30 years old, but I do like his skill set. A- inside, B+ 3-point. He can defend. And his athleticism isn't too bad either. And he can rebound at 6'7", 220. I think he would be a really nice bench player, almost like a Boris Diaw type. 71 overall though, and he did not do much last season. I think the pick here is very clearly Pat Garrity, and he is going to be our 5th selection. So we have a little bit of a starting 5. We got Steve Blake at point guard, Willie Green at shooting guard, Quintel Woods, Pat Garrity, and Chris Borkart. Yay, exciting! Alright, what now? It's going to be tough not to pick Penny Hardaway at some point, but that contract is just way too much for a player that's going to retire pretty soon and will probably get injured at some point during next season. Earl Watson is a 25-year-old point guard that could rotate in with Steve Blake. In fact, he might even start over him. At 6'1" and 186 pounds, he's not physically imposing, and he's not very athletic either. However, he can shoot, he can pass, he can defend a little bit. He's a high IQ player, and he's got A- potential. I'm not sure how much credence to give that. But again, we're not going to get any superstars in this expansion draft, so I think I'll take Earl Watson. Would be nice to get another wing to pair with Willie Green. Let's look at some more of the small forwards. We do have Calbert Cheney from the Warriors, a pretty balanced skill set, but nothing over a C+ outside of his mid-range shooting. Oh yeah, there's Jason Capono. I think I'll go with him. B- mid-range, A- 3-point. If we want to score more than 80 points per game, we're going to need guys like Capono. So 7 players selected, that is more than half of our roster. And for pick number 8, I wouldn't mind getting another big man. Again, the center selection is just not very interesting at all. I do not want Vitaly Potapenko, as he's paid over $6 million. But at this point, I kind of just want to get someone who can start comfortably and not be a complete liability. Irvin Johnson is probably going to regress quite a bit during this offseason, so I wouldn't expect him to keep his A+ inside defense at 36 years old. But let's see if I can find a similar type of player who's a little bit younger. I think I'm going to go with Macy Lamp. I have no idea how to say that name. Hopefully I got that correct. Purely because of his 19-year-old age, his B+ potential, and the fact that he is on a rookie deal being drafted in 2003 in the second round. And he does have 2 years left on his deal for some reason. So I'm going to take Macy Lamp. So that's 2 centers now with Borkhart and Lamp, 2 very unproven assets. Wouldn't mind supplementing that with an older player who can maybe mentor some guys. Maybe someone like Danny Fortson, who is 28 years old, has 14 badges, so he can use that to mentor some guys, and he's got pretty solid ratings. His inside scoring is above average, his inside defense is very good, his rebounding is an A. We could go with Danny Fortson, we could go with someone like Calvin Booth, who is one of the more athletic centers still available from the Sonics, 6'11", 230 pounds, 3 years left on his deal. I really wish I could just decline to pick the rest of these guys and fill out the rest through free agency, but we do have to pick 14 players. Sometimes I like to pick in these expansion drafts players on expiring team options so I can just then decline them and get an open roster spot, but unfortunately there's nothing in that variety in this pool right now. With pick number 8, I think I am going Jumaine Jones from the Celtics. 2 years on a very cheap deal, mid-range and 3-point scoring, B perimeter defense. Good enough for me. 5 more picks to go, and we have 4 bench players selected. We have a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and center. Wouldn't mind another big man. It could be someone like Darius Sungaila, a 26-year-old on a 1-year, $1 million deal. One of the more competent interior scorers who can also stretch it out to the mid-range. At this point, there really are not that many young players available. There is Luke Walton. Not really sure what he does the best. He is a playmaking wing, so just like his dad, he can pass the rock. I'll go with Luke Walton at some point in this draft. I think I'd rather have Sungaila here, but I'll go with Luke Walton with the next pick. 3 more players to go. And now the youngest player available is Jamison Brewer. Not really sure what he does well. No offensive scoring grades above a C+. Not athletic either, as a 6'4" point guard. Not very interested in him, but I may take him purely because he's 23 years old. Also, me taking Macy Lamp means that I can't take Penny Hardaway anymore, since teams can only give up one player in the expansion draft. And the best player available now is George Lynch, a 3-and-D wing from the Hornets. And he's pretty good at defense. He's got an A perimeter. And he's also good at rebounding, and he's athletic. I think this is a pretty versatile piece that I wouldn't mind having. So George Lynch, welcome to the team. He and Earl Watson are actually our best right now. 2 more players. I guess I don't really have to worry about salary cap management at this point. I still haven't taken any point guards besides Steve Blake and Earl Watson. Maybe I go with one more, someone like Milt Palacio, a 26-year-old from the Raptors at 6'4", one of the best passers left. In fact, he is the best passer left. If one of our point guards goes down, Milt Palacio will probably get some minutes. And he can also play the 2 as well. So, welcome Milt Palacio. And only one pick to go. Who will be our Mr. Irrelevant? I think we could use one more veteran big. Maybe it actually should be Vitaly Potapenko, as he's only on the books for 1 more year, so his salary doesn't matter that much. He is the highest rated at a true 76 overall, B- inside scoring, not likely to regress this year, but he is a bit of a defensive liability. Maybe Aaron Williams would be a better selection. He's paid less, he's signed for 1 more year, he is 3 years older, and he's better at defense and rebounding. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go with Irvin Johnson. He is going to regress quite a bit, but I do expect him to keep some valuable badges for mentoring, and his ratings are just far and away better than the rest in the areas that I'm looking for. So Irvin Johnson will be the veteran presence in our locker room, and he will be the final pick of our expansion draft. And that's it. These are the first 14 players in Charlotte Bobcats history. I wish I could tell you I'm excited about this team, but let's just say I'm more excited about the future of this team that probably is not on the team quite yet.
Let me know in the comments what you think of this roster, guys. Hope everyone's enjoying the video so far. Really looking forward to getting this team out on the court. First 14 players in Bobcats history right here. However, there will be quite a few more offseason moves made. We can make trades, we still have free agency, and of course, we still have the NBA draft. And the Sporting News mocks us to select Sean Livingston, a 6'6" high school point guard prospect. It is a shame that we're picking at number 4. The top 3 look like they all have star potential. However, this also looks like a pretty deep draft. Ben Gordon will most likely be on the board, as well as his UConn teammate Emeka Okafor. Arizona wing Andre Iguodala will likely go in the top 10, maybe the top 5. And of course, there's a shot that either Jameer Nelson or Josh Smith fall to us. Looking at the draft combine, Sean Livingston got the fastest sprint time. A 6'7" point guard with that speed is really enticing. The only question, can he shoot? And the difference between his college 3 and NBA 3 shooting results in the combine is something I don't know if I've ever seen before. 23 out of 25 from college, 11 out of 25 from the NBA line. Livingston actually had the best college 3 numbers, ahead of guys like Kevin Martin, Ben Gordon, J.R. Smith. But for some reason, as soon as he takes a step back, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. From NBA range, J.R. Smith looks like an absolute sniper, but Jameer Nelson really stands out as he hit 20 of 25 off the dribble. And as a newly established team, we did not get any time to scout prospects during the season, and the only information we have about anyone is from our private pre-draft workouts. And out of all the players we invited, Luol Deng, Ben Gordon, Sean Livingston, and Andre Iguodala look like the best. I didn't even bother scouting Dwight Howard because there is no chance the Knicks are giving up that number 1 pick. Iguodala is a really well-rounded player, 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan. He plays a powerful brand of basketball. He uses his strength to get to the rim. He's shown flashes of off-the-dribble shooting ability, but the efficiency will need to improve. And his defensive versatility is a plus with A- athleticism, B+ perimeter defense, and B- post. On top of that, Iguodala is really trustworthy as a playmaker. Maybe not quite a point forward necessarily, but B- playmaking ain't half bad for a small forward. And just as the Combine indicated, Sean Livingston is a mid-range sniper, but not a threat from three-point land. And this is one of the most unique prospects in a long time. He has elite length at point guard and really knows how to use it to get his shot off. For some reason, though, he's only got C athleticism, even though he had the fastest sprint time in the Combine, and C- inside scoring is a little bit concerning. Luol Deng is kind of a similar prospect to Andre Iguodala, except he's 3 inches taller, not quite as much of a ball handler, only with C playmaking, but he does have A- athleticism, and he has the ability to play the power forward. And J.R. Smith might be the biggest boom or bust prospect in this entire draft. Another 18-year-old high school prospect, and he has all the tools offensively. He can score from 3 levels, he's athletic, he's not lacking in size. But the real concern with him is, can he adjust to the NBA play style, and can he play within his role in an offense? His shot selection at times really reminds you that he's 18 years old. Jameer Nelson is another 3-level scorer with unlimited offensive potential. However, unlike Smith, he also has polish and experience as a 4-year college player. However, the size is concerning at only 6 feet tall, which could really limit him on defense. He's also not exactly a gifted passer, and you definitely want your point guard to have that ability, especially when he's 6 feet tall and can't really slide to the 2-guard spot. Al Jefferson, a pure back-to-basket big man prospect out of high school, only a C+ inside scoring, not exactly what you want to see from a player with that play style, but just from the film, he has really nice touch around the rim. And as one of the best rebounders in the draft, he's going to be a threat to get a double-double every night if he gets a starting job. Those are really all the guys I'm considering with my first draft pick. Here is my draft board. Of course, Dwight Howard is number 1. If he falls, he falls, but I do not expect to get him. And I have Iguodala at number 2 on the board. I feel like he really does not have a weakness, and I think he'd be a great player to start with because he can really fit into any team and play any role. I think he absolutely has the ability to be a franchise player, but even if he isn't, I think he would fit in as a really nice connector with some other player we draft down the line. The other guys here have glaring weaknesses. Sean Livingston can't shoot threes. Other guys don't really play defense, like J.R. Smith and Jameer Nelson. Ben Gordon, I feel like, is a really well-rounded shooting guard prospect, but he's 3 inches shorter than Iguodala. I think if Josh Smith falls to pick number 4, then maybe we'd have to rethink our strategy. Josh Smith is someone I really like. He's a relentless interior scorer and someone I could see leading our team in scoring for many years. Here's the rest of my draft board, and there's a lot of guys here that I would feel good about. Jameer Nelson, Devin Harris, Al Jefferson, Kevin Martin, all look like guys that could be really good, but I have them a little bit down on my board just because there are guys I like more. After 13 or 14, though, there's a bit of a drop-off. I think these guys have role player potential, but maybe not star potential. The Bobcats actually did trade up to number 2 in real life, and they did it by making a deal with the Clippers prior to the expansion draft, which of course we can't do in 2K. I tried my best though to see what my options were in terms of trading up. I tried getting the number 2 pick from the Celtics, and they weren't really having it. I tried including Earl Watson and Luke Walton, but that didn't work either. Ultimately, I don't think the Celtics are interested in moving down in the draft as they have the 3rd, 18th, and 29th picks already, so they don't need any more first-round picks. They'd rather probably use those picks to trade up to number 1, but of course it's very unlikely that the Knicks give up that pick. We could potentially look at moving up just 1 spot to number 3, but the Hawks also have 2 first-round picks, both in the top 10, and I don't really think they're interested in moving down from 3 to 4 either. So after looking at that, I have decided to stay put at pick number 4, and I feel pretty good about that because I'm confident there will be quite a few players available at 4 who could become faces of our franchise. And welcome to the 2004 NBA Draft, says Commissioner David Stern. And the Knicks are on the clock. And they select Dwight Howard, the 6'11 high school center out of Atlanta. That surprises just about nobody, and it excites a whole lot of Knicks fans who have been eagerly awaiting the next Patrick Ewing and the revival of New York Knicks basketball. Next up in the draft, the Boston Celtics. They go with Jameer Nelson, the point guard out of St. Joseph's. And they have high hopes for Nelson to form a dynamic offensive duo with Paul Pierce. At pick number 3, the Atlanta Hawks go with Josh Smith, the 6'9 wrecking ball of a power forward out of high school. And he will jumpstart their rebuild. And with that, the Charlotte Bobcats are on the clock for their first ever draft pick. And the 3 guys who I expected to come off the board are off the board. And Andre Iguodala is still available. There was a chance I thought he'd go before Josh Smith and even before Jameer Nelson. But the 20-year-old Arizona wing may be the best player left on the board. Of course, we could go Sean Livingston, who has a different scouting report now. Now they're saying he has B inside scoring, which is much better, as well as A- athleticism, so he's kind of a mystery. I think Livingston's going to be really good, but I'd rather go with the guy who isn't a mystery. We all know what he's capable of. He has no weaknesses. Fate of the universe on the line. Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. I want Iguodala, and that is who we select at number 4 overall in the 2004 NBA Draft. Andre Iguodala, you are a Charlotte Bobcat. And number 5 is a guy that I overlooked in the scouting process, but still someone I think is going to be a really good player. And that's Emeka Okafor out of Connecticut going to the Utah Jazz. And his college teammate goes right after him. Ben Gordon goes to the New Orleans Hornets. Luol Deng, the well-rounded wing that many believe may be better than Andre Iguodala, goes number 7 to the Rockets. And just a quick aside, I'm sorry for the terrible audio in this video. I've just been recording this whenever I have spare time. I've been doing it in a lot of different places, which of course creates a lot of different soundscapes. Thank you guys for bearing with that. I don't have a mic right now. The one that I used to have is really bad and I don't like it. I honestly prefer my MacBook mic, but one of these days, hopefully very soon, I'll have to get a real YouTuber microphone. We have our first draft pick trade. At number 8 overall, the Warriors are trading it to the Grizzlies for Shane Battier. And Memphis goes with Sean Livingston at number 8 overall. A lot of mock drafts had him higher than this, but this is a really interesting landing spot for Livingston as he gets to create a pick-and-roll duo with Pau Gasol. The Hawks use their second first-round pick on Josh Childress, a 6'8 wing from Stanford. And a year after selecting Carmelo Anthony, the Nuggets get another pure scorer with Kevin Martin. Devin Harris falls all the way to number 11 to the Toronto Raptors. He will play with Chris Bosh. And the Blazers scoop up J.R. Smith. Really interesting pickup for them as they really need some offensive firepower. The Sonics take Al Jefferson at pick 13. And that was a guy I was really interested in, one of my top trade-up targets. But there were still a few other guys that I was interested in getting in the back end of the lottery or the middle of the first round. And seeing Jefferson go was kind of a wake-up call for me that maybe I should start looking at a trade. The Orlando Magic pick next at number 14, and we are proposing a trade to send Earl Watson and Luke Walton, along with our second-round pick this year, to Orlando to move back into the first round. And they actually accept that trade. We didn't even have to negotiate at all. They accepted right away. I guess they're really high on Earl Watson because they essentially just gave up a first-round pick for him. And we are on the clock at number 14 overall. Sporting News has Trevor Ariza as the highest-ranked player available. Other guys like Tony Allen, Beno Udrih, Chris Duhon are all on my draft board. But I knew from the get-go I wanted to take either a point guard or a center with this second pick since we already got a wing. I do really like Trevor Ariza and Tony Allen. However, we don't really need them anymore. And the best non-wing available looks to be Beno Udrih, the Slovenian point guard, 6'3", over 200 pounds, 22 years old. And I'm going completely off of my own personal knowledge of these players and their play styles, since we have zero scouting information. Udrih's not a flashy point guard, but he can score from 3 levels, he can protect the basketball and avoid turnovers, and he just knows how to play the right way. I do feel a little bit weird trading up for a 22-year-old European point guard who many don't expect to have superstar potential necessarily. A lot of people might call this a reach, but I really like Udrih's game, and he fits into the culture that I'm trying to build here in Charlotte, and we're hoping that he can come in immediately and provide leadership and maturity for a team that doesn't have a whole lot of either right now. So there you go. At number 14 overall, the Charlotte Bobcats select Beno Udrih. You can call it a reach, but let's be real, we weren't finding anyone better than this in the second round. And all we really needed to give up was a second rounder and some players that I probably wasn't going to play all that much. Also, maybe a small factor in my decision is that my friend has a Beno Udrih bobblehead, and it's kind of a meme in our friend group, so I just couldn't pass up this opportunity. Pick 15 is the second pick of the first round for the Blazers, and they go Anderson Varejão from Brazil. The Kings go with the burly 6'6" wing Kirk Snyder from Nevada. And the Wizards are going to trade pick number 17 to the Seattle Sonics for Vladimir Radmanovic. Washington made the playoffs last year, and they are trying to get better to win now. The Sonics, however, are still in the midst of a rebuild, and they go with the center Andris Biedrins. And the trades keep on flowing here in the back half of the first round. Celtics trade the 18th overall pick to the Rockets, and they are punting on this year's draft, instead opting to load up for 2005. And the Rockets trade back into the first round and select Trevor Ariza. And I really like these picks from Houston. They had one of the best defensive players in the league in Yao Ming last year, but the rest of their team was not at that level defensively. And now they are loading up on big 3-and-D wings with Luol Deng and Trevor Ariza now joining the Rockets. Philly selects Sebastian Telfair at number 19. And Miami goes with the big 280-pound center from BYU, Rafael Araujo. And the Cavs pick up a defensive stopper, Tony Allen, at pick 21. Another trade here sees Nick Van Exel going to Brooklyn for the number 22 pick. And the Warriors replace him with Chris Duhon, the 6'1" point guard from Duke. The LA Clippers select Jameer Nelson's St. Joe's teammate, Delonte West. And the Bulls go Chris Humphries at pick 24. 6 picks remaining in the first round, and the Pacers, after the finals loss and the retirement of Reggie Miller, they get another 3-point marksman in Sasha Vujacic from Slovenia. And the Lakers, who were hoping to select Vujacic, instead have to go with Damian Wilkins at 26. The Timberwolves go with Robert Swift from Cal. The Spurs select Dorell Wright. Boston selects a power forward, Victor Kriapa from Russia. And the final pick of the first round is Jared Reiner from Iowa, going to the Suns. We fast forward through the second round since we traded our pick away, and we can now look at the ratings. Dwight Howard is 84 overall, and there are 3 80-pluses in the top 6, with the other 2 being Emeka Okafor and Ben Gordon. Andre Iguodala, our first draft pick. Not quite 80, but still one of the best players in the draft. 78 overall, only B- potential though. Dwight Howard, meanwhile, has A- potential. Looking at some of the guys that were on the board when we took Iguodala, Okafor looks like a really good prospect, A potential at 80 overall. Livingston 78, only a B- potential. And what did I say about boom or bust? The potential is through the roof for J.R. Smith. And our second draft pick, Beno Udrih, only has a C potential at 74 overall. That's unfortunate, but I do love his initial attributes. B's in all the scoring categories, B+ playmaking, and ultimately I just like his skill set more than Earl Watson's. Udrih looks like a high floor, low ceiling prospect. Al Jefferson has a B+ potential at 75 overall. So it would have been nice to trade up in the draft one pick earlier. Jefferson looks like the higher upside guy. And we get our draft picks under contract. Iguodala signs for $3.5 million a year, while Udry signs for about half of that. Meanwhile, our only team option is Curtis Borkhardt, which we accept. And here is the free agent pool. It's not a particularly star-studded one, as Kenyon Martin at 86 overall is the best one. But while there won't be a ton of free agency drama, there is a blockbuster trade between the Heat and the Lakers. The Kobe and Shaq era in LA comes to an end after the Lakers were bounced by the Timberwolves in the first round of last playoffs. And that's now 2 straight years of early exits for the Lakers, since the year before San Antonio beat them in the conference semis. It's been well known for a while now that Shaq and Kobe's personalities really didn't mix, and they were able to put their differences aside for quite a while they were winning championships, but that seems to have run its course. On top of that, Shaq is due a new contract in a season, and unable to work out a deal with the Lakers for a max contract, Shaq requested a trade, and his wish is granted. Dwayne Wade and the Heat come off of a special season where they made it to the second round when not a lot of people expected them to. And they now realize what they have in Dwayne Wade and decided to swing for the fences to give him a championship caliber running mate. But they had to give up quite a bit. Lamar Odom, Caron Butler, Brian Grant, and a first-round pick are headed to the Lakers. Miami sacrifices quite a bit of depth in order to land the best center in the league. And the dominoes begin to fall in free agency. Carlos Boozer is the first player to sign, and he goes to the Utah Jazz from Cleveland. San Antonio then locks up Manu Ginobili for the long term after he won a 6th Man of the Year award. And they also get another lockdown shooter in Brent Berry. And the Charlotte Bobcats, with all their cap space, will now try to dip their toes into the free agency market. We make an offer to Kenyon Martin, and it's the exact same offer as the Denver Nuggets. Both of us are offering more money than the Nets are able to shell out, and he will very likely be on the move. But free agency may be tough for us right off the bat, as we are an expansion team. We don't have any expectations to compete. Meanwhile, the Nuggets already have a bright young star in Carmelo Anthony, and they look much closer to competing than we are. Kmart's already gotten a taste of playoff competition, making the finals 2 straight seasons with New Jersey, so choosing to move to a rebuilding expansion team at this point in his career would be pretty shocking. We will also make a 3-year offer to Desmond Mason, a small forward from the Bucks, who is one of the most skilled wings available, however, comes off of a really rough shooting season with Milwaukee. And if we're not able to get Mason, Deshaun Stevenson may be an even better option at 23 years old, 79 overall. Stevenson was a much better 3-point shooter than Mason last year, albeit on very low volume, but Stevenson really broke out last year after doing pretty much nothing in his first 3 years. He was actually traded mid-season to the Magic, and his production really did not drop off at all. And he's already got 2 gold shooting badges, which should help out his development. Stevenson's a guy that I think is realistic for the Bobcats to target. He doesn't have the extensive body of work that would make him a top target for contending teams. However, his youth, his potential, and his play style as a guy who can handle the ball and take the majority of the shots for an offense fit into this team really nicely. And Stevenson accepts. He is our first free agent signing of the franchise, and we get him for 4 years, $16 million. And with Desmond Mason electing to stay with his old team and Kenyon Martin signing with the Nuggets, our decision was pretty easy. Now that most of the 80 overalls are gone, we now move a little bit down the list, and this is a guy that really caught my eye. Mehmet Okur has spent 2 years on the Pistons bench, and the former 38th overall pick out of Turkey showcased his really unique offensive skill set. He averaged nearly 10 points and 6 rebounds, and he did so in the post and also behind the three-point line where he shot 35%, but also over 3 assists. He is just ultra skilled, and he has the potential to be one of the best passing big men in the league. However, despite the promise he showed, the Pistons made the move to trade for an established star in Rasheed Wallace, who of course Okur is not going to start over, so Okur kind of got left to the wayside. And now Okur is a restricted free agent. His contract is up after 2 years since he was a second-round pick. But with the Pistons already having an established starting five, I'm not sure if they can afford to keep Okur. But the Bobcats can definitely afford to at least make him an offer. And I am making him a high priority early in free agency. I think $4 million per year over 4 years is pretty fair for a guy who hasn't become an established starter or star yet, but still a pretty sizable investment in a guy that I think can be a core piece. He just needs a chance to start consistently, and I think the results will follow. And that's something that we can offer Mehmet Okur. And when you look at his attributes, it's easy to tell that the guy is going to be special. 25 years old with an A potential, A- inside scoring, B for mid-range and 3. Not a rim protector, but solid post defense, solid rebounding. He can play the 4 and the 5, and not crazy athletic, but he makes up for it with skill. And Okur currently has 0 offers. All the other teams are focused on other players, and they might be missing out. We did not draft a big man in the NBA draft, and the guys we took in the expansion draft are nowhere near Okur's level. Common logic would suggest that signing free agents as an expansion team is nearly impossible. I mean, it's going to be hard to convince a player to come to a team with no prior history and no established culture. For all they know, this organization could turn out to be a total mess. But I think there are a certain subgroup of players who would be open to it. And for Okur, he's been on a team with an established culture, and it hasn't worked out for him. He's been riding the bench. On top of that, he's still young and still has a legacy to forge in the league. And signing with an expansion team would be a really unique route to take. What if we called up Mehmet Okur and told him that he could go from a bench player to the face of a brand new franchise just like that? And that's exactly what Liz McDonald does. We have signed Mehmet Okur. The Pistons have elected not to match our offer, and that means Mehmet Okur is the newest Charlotte Bobcat. 4 years, $17.2 million in total, and I think that could be a bargain if things work out. As we continue to move through free agency, day 2 now, a lot of the good players are signing. Vlade Divac returns to the Lakers after they get rid of Shaq. But outside of the guys I've already mentioned, there haven't been a ton of big moves. Here's a look at our team now, and we could be done if we wanted to. Deshaun Stevenson and Mehmet Okur are our best players at 79. And our starting lineup is looking clearer and clearer. Probably Steve Blake at the point guard after we traded away Earl Watson. Deshaun Watson at the 2, Iguodala at the 3, George Lynch probably at the 4, and Mehmet Okur at the 5. Antonio McDyess signs with the Warriors for 3 years, $7 million. And the Spurs signed Tony Kukoc, and that just makes sense. He is the perfect veteran player for the Spurs, especially after they lose Hedo Turkoglu, who signs with the Miami Heat to play with Shaq and D. Wade. In real life, Stephon Marbury didn't work out with the Suns, and they did not have a good season in 2004 due to injuries, and they ended up trading away Marbury and getting Steve Nash back. But in this reality, Marbury wins a championship with the Suns, and this looks like a budding dynasty. So the Suns are going to keep Marbury for at least one more season, while Steve Nash signs a big extension with the Mavs. Of course, things didn't work out for Nash and Nowitzki after they lost in the first round in a shocking upset, but Nash elects to stay the course in Dallas. We now have 16 total players, which is one too many, but there are still quite a few interesting free agents available, and we still have a ton of cap space. So I have decided to free up another roster spot by trading away Curtis Borkhardt for 2 second-round picks to the Los Angeles Clippers. And we get down to 14 guys now as we trade 2 big men for 1, sending Darius Songaila and Irvin Johnson to the Mavs for Danny Fortson and a second-round pick. Defense and physicality is something that the Mavs need badly, and Irvin Johnson provides that. And they also get a slightly younger version of that in Darius Sungila, while we get a second-round pick out of it. And lastly, we are going to slim down to 13 players by sending away Jason Kapono back to his original team that we selected him from in the expansion draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kapono was likely not going to play very much for us, especially after we got other shooters in Okur and Stevenson, and we get another second-round pick. And look who is available, Udonis Haslem, after 1 season with the Heat. Haslem was a role player who played about 20 minutes per game for the Heat in his rookie season, and he was pretty solid. But Miami just gave a decent amount of money to Hedo Turkoglu, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep Haslem. For some reason, Haslem's a unrestricted free agent. It looks like Miami already renounced his rights. And that seems like a perfect opportunity for us to take advantage and get another young guy on the cheap who has already showcased some promise. And I really like Haslem's fit in the front court next to Okur. He's only 6'8", so Okur would probably be our center, but Haslem is a really physical player, a bruising interior game. He can score from the post, he can rebound, he can be an enforcer on defense who stifles guys inside and fouls guys hard. I love the idea of Haslem as our glue guy and our connector. And to have a guy like that at 24 years old, $2.5 million per year with a team option, you can't really ask for a better situation as an expansion team. And we'll see if Haslem accepts this. I was also really enticed by the idea of signing Luis Scola at 24 years old, but ultimately I stopped myself because Scola should technically still be with the Spurs but playing in Europe. And I ended up taking control of the Spurs and signing him back. Another guy I was interested in is Gary Trent, one of the most athletic and versatile bigs left, and one of the few who can guard on the perimeter. I offered him a minimum deal. And we sign Udonis Haslem. And we continue the trend of investing in young players who were buried on the bench of their former team. Turns out the Nuggets also want Gary Trent for a minimum deal, so I upped my offer to $1.03 million. But that doesn't change anything. Gary Trent chooses the Nuggets anyway. But that's okay because I can still get another guy I'm interested in, Chris Anderson, the Birdman. Just look at him. Don't tell me you don't want this guy on our squad. He will strike fear into our opponents' hearts. And he accepts a $900,000 deal to be our backup center behind Okur. I think I'm finally satisfied with this roster. I really feel that it's a very good starting point. We have a lot of young talent and a head coach in Isaiah Thomas who really knows how to establish a culture of toughness. And we look at the final days of free agency. Robert Horry signs with the Heat, so they get another shooter on their roster along with Turkoglu, and the Heat are really loading up to win their first championship. Horry, on the other hand, is chasing ring number 6. And after offseason progression, this is what our ratings look like. And how about Mehmet Okur? He is now an 82 overall with increases across the board in his grades. I really think we signed the perfect free agent to kickstart our franchise. And I am overall happy with our offseason. Pretty much everyone on our team goes up in overall. Steve Blake going up to a 76 is a welcome sight. The only guy who does go down is Jermaine Jones, who's now only a 73. And here are the new top players in the NBA. For some reason, Kobe and T-Mac go down by 3 and 4 apiece. And Tim Duncan remains at the top with a 98 overall. That really is super weird to see Kobe and T-Mac go down by that much. I mean, Paul Pierce should not be higher rated than Kobe and T-Mac in my opinion, but 95 and 94 overall is still pretty good. LeBron jumps by 5 overall in his rookie year, now a 93 overall at 19 years old. Ray Allen also had a big jump, 92 overall now. And for some reason, after making the finals, Jermaine O'Neal goes down by 3. Dwayne Wade is now an 89, and Carmelo Anthony is a 90. We have made it all the way to the Summer League, and we can finally see the Bobcats take the court for the first time in Vegas. as they take on the Hawks in their opener. Third overall pick Josh Smith is on the other side, and I'm not sure what Mehmet Okur is doing in the Summer League, but that means we get to watch him play for the first time. Here he is posting up Josh Smith, puts him in a blender. A spinning hook shot for his first points as a Bobcat. Now here's Steve Blake. Now Mehmet Okur gets Samuel and Dalembert flying. Driving kick, Iguodala hits the three from the corner. For some reason, our expansion draftee Milt Palacio is the starting point guard on the Hawks Summer League team, and there he lobs it up to Josh Smith. Even when we lose, we still win. 10-5 Atlanta. Iguodala probing his way inside. Pump fakes. Puts it up and in. Physical finish. And that's something he already does well at 20 years old. Boris Diaw drives baseline. Wow. I was not familiar with his athleticism. Now here's Beno Udrih with the shot clock running down. Mid-range pull-up rattles in. We're down 20-9 though. Quintel Woods pump fake. Now drives around the screen from Haslam and gets it to go off the glass. Overall, though, it's been a rough offensive quarter for us. Willie Green breaks the drought. Palacio tries another lob. It's deflected this time. Steve Blake taking it the other way. Gives to Iguodala. Wraps it around to Okur. Puts up a wild shot and it goes. And he's already got 14 points. Now he puts the ball on the floor. Driving to the hoop. And he scores! Mehmet Okur putting on a show. Now a defensive stop, intercepting the lob. On the other end, Okur gets Smith in the air and scores his 19th point. We have climbed back into this game in the third quarter. Okur threatening the three. Now he's double teamed. Gets it to Steve Blake. Open three, cash. 10 points for Blake. These guys have never played a game together before, but they already seem to be putting the pieces together. Udrih snakes the screen. That was a nice little move. Hits 2 free throws. And a great pass from Udrih to Stromile Swift, one of our Summer League signees. Another jumper good for Udrih, and he has 10 points and 5 assists off the bench. All of a sudden, we're up by 20. We have locked down these Hawks, and Okur continues to dominate. 24 points. And give him 3 more. This guy has it all. And they're sending doubles at him in the Summer League. And he dumps it off to a cutting Haslam. Iguodala also has 16. Okur passes up the 3. Tries to bully his way inside. And he sucks in the defense, leading to an open Willie Green triple. 27, 11, and 5 for Okur, and he puts the exclamation point with a slam. Charlotte wins their first ever game by 23 here in the Summer League, and it was a great sneak peek at what this team is going to look like. And I know it's just one game, but Okur looks like an all-star. Iguodala had a really nice debut, and so did Beno Udrih. Josh Smith puts up 22 and 8 in his first game, and our Milt Palacio gets 9 assists with 2 turnovers. And we win another against the Clippers in our second Summer League game. Iguodala puts up 21, and Okur has 16 with 5 assists. We are 3-0 now, and we're not just winning, but we are dominating. 30-point win over the Suns, and another 29-point double-double from Okur. And I don't know why, but our defense has been lights out. We allow 57 points to the Boston Celtics, who have the number 2 pick, Jameer Nelson. And so far, Mehmet Okur has been the Summer League MVP. We beat the Clippers again, and Iguodala goes for 16, 10, and 5 with 4 blocks. Then we beat the Knicks and number 1 overall pick, Dwight Howard. This time, Udonis Haslam is the star. And Mehmet Okur has his worst shooting performance of the Summer League, but he still gets 7 offensive rebounds, dominating the number 1 pick, Dwight Howard, on the glass. And just like that, we are still undefeated, and we are in the Summer League Tournament final game against the Dallas Mavericks. I was not expecting this much success. Remember, this is basically our actual lineup minus Deshaun Stevenson. First possession of the game, Steve Blake, no good. Haslam with the putback. And just a minute later, Okur, nasty pump fake, drives, puts up a wild shot, and it goes over his shoulder. This man is having a ridiculous summer league, and I think he's already making the Pistons regret letting him go. We take a comfortable lead into the final stretch, and we win the Summer League. And so far, the Charlotte Bobcats have the best winning percentage in NBA history. They have literally never lost a game. Not the best game for Mehmet Okur overall, but he has just been so ridiculous this entire Summer League that I do think he's still the Summer League MVP. Meanwhile, a very encouraging game from Iguodala, who put 17, 8, and 6 up. Okur ends up averaging 18.7 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, 46% from the floor, 46 from 3 as well. That is good for 8th in the Summer League and first on our team in front of Iguodala, who scores 14.4 over the 7 games. And his defense and passing were also fantastic. 1.6 blocks per game from a small forward and 4.4 assists. Beno Udrih also puts together a solid 7 games with 11.4 points per game and committed less than a turnover per game. And at the same time, Steve Blake struggled in a few of these games. Even though he started all of them, we may have a bit of a point guard controversy to start this franchise. I don't think either of these guys is really head and shoulders better than the other, so I may just decide to start the hot hand over the course of Season 1. And check this out, we have the best defense in the Summer League, and it's not even close. Nearly 9 less points allowed than the second best. And we outscored our opponents by an average of 24.4. And before we get to the regular season, here are some preseason trades. Most notably, Jason Terry headed to the Mavericks to pair up with Steve Nash in the backcourt after being traded for Antoine Walker. And to save some money, the Mavs give away Michael Finley to the Utah Jazz. And after hours and hours of preparation, we are finally ready to get this show on the road. We have made it to the 2004-05 NBA season, and the Charlotte Bobcats are set to start their season at home against the Detroit Pistons, Mehmet Okur's old team. We are power ranked as the 28th best team in the league out of 30, and the Spurs are the best according to NBA.com. Detroit is number 2, so we do not have an easy draw in our first game. I expect this season to be a fun one. However, with our best player at 82 overall, it's not likely we contend for a playoff spot. It is more likely that we are contending for a top pick in the draft. And the bona fide number 1 prospect this year is Chris Paul out of Wake Forest. Andrew Bogut, Danny Granger, Darren Williams are some of the other guys we may look at. And finally, that's going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you to anyone who made it all the way through this monstrosity. It was definitely an ambitious video, simulating an entire year, covering all the storylines, and going through the opening offseason. But I hope you guys stick around for this, because I think this has the potential to be a really special series. For some reason, even though the My NBA Eras thing has been in the game for multiple years by now, I haven't seen YouTubers give it the full, slow, immersive YouTube franchise treatment. I see a lot of people do one-off rebuild videos where they just simulate through 5 seasons in one video and try to win a championship with a team that never did. But what I want to do with this series is take the way I play franchise mode and apply it to this retro experience. I think it's going to mirror my Bulls franchise in some ways and be vastly different in others. And it's going to be really fun to upload both of those franchises at the same time. But I think that's more than enough talking for this episode. I'm going to cut myself off here. Thank you to everyone who supports me. This is now my 50th upload, and it's a very, very special one. Many more to come. I hope my channel continues to grow. And if you like what you see, it would be a huge help if you could leave some feedback in the comments, like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and even recommend me to a friend. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I will see you in the next video when we finally begin the Charlotte Bobcats franchise.